Dan Sodergren is an AI and tech expert. Hello, Dan. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Could I first of all get your reaction to what Sundar Pichai is telling the BBC this lunchtime?
Well, it's quite interesting because he talks around AI and the future of work and technology. And of course, when Google used to kind of make a move, the whole world would shudder in the way of tech. So it's interesting to hear the CEO's kind of thoughts on this. You've got to remember, AI and Google is not a new thing. Obviously, Google originally came out as a search engine, but 12 or so years ago, they bought DeepMind off Nobel Prize winner Demis Hassabis. And about 7 years ago, they decided, in fact, the very same CEO declared they weren't a search engine anymore, they were an AI company. So it's really interesting to see, because they already told us where the company was going and the direction of the company to become this AI giant. But it's really interesting. He's now coming back and saying, actually, don't believe everything that AI says. He's completely right to say that, by the way. It's just interesting that that's what he's decided to say today.
It's interesting that The Guardian talking about this creation of a knowledge collapse. I suppose you could say that even before AI, there were many people who would start Googling the answers, say, for example, if they were in a pub quiz, then racking their brains.
Yeah, absolutely. And before that, we had the audacity of having things like libraries, didn't we? How weird that we have these books which have the knowledge in rather than your own brains. But I think what that person might be talking about is something slightly deeper, which is about 6 months ago, Google started to play around with Google AI search and other things, which is a bit like, instead of going into a library and Google saying, these are the kind of books you should read, the librarian became the stage of all knowledge and actually gave you the answer. And so that there is a fundamental danger, of course, in that we're not finding out the knowledge, we're just finding out the answers. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
From thing. But the other thing that person might have been talking about is if AI looks at itself too much and then learns from AI, and the AI learns from itself again, then actually you do get a knowledge collapse because the AI cannot just learn from AI. Does that also make sense?
Yes, it does indeed. Can I just move away from Sundar Pichai and the interview, if I may, and just talk about some of the big names who are opposing AI? So, for example, Sir Paul McCartney, I'm a big fan. He is going to, you might have seen this in the papers today, he is going to release a 2-minute and 45-second silent track later this month, signalling his opposition. He was with Laura Kunzberg 2 months ago talking about this and proposed changes to UK copyright law, basically going to expand exemptions for AI companies. And what you'll hear on the track, apparently, is just a few clicks. What do you make of some big names that we're talking about? Annie Lennox, Jamiroquai, Damon Albarn, Hans Zimmer, the composer, also joining in?
Well, I mean, this is talking about not about Google or an AI, but of course about music and copyright and those other slightly larger issues. I think there's a deep worry in the creative communities, which I'm also kind of slightly part of, obviously not to the extent Paul McCartney, etc. I'm not a musician.
Not yet. You need a few number ones before that.
I absolutely, just a few. I also need to be good at playing the piano, etc. But I create content and other things, and I understand I've written books and those things, and these things could all be scraped, and I could get very incensed about all this stuff, and stuff I've put out on the internet, of course, might not be protected anymore, and AI might be able to use it to become cleverer. I think there is a bigger worry, I think, for most people who are in this world of the creation of content, is that AI doesn't help them at all. It just creates something which is a weak imitation of theirs.
Will some of my listeners be using AI without even realising it, Dan?
Yeah, I think so. That's part of the interesting thing, that AI has been around for a very, very, very long time, and we need to really realise that really when you think about things like Siri, etc., that's been around for a long, long time. AI has been around in Google for quite a while, but also in your phones, etc. But also, if you've ever played a computer game, you must probably be playing against an AI then, if you think about it, because that's artificial intelligence.
Yeah, good point. How much do you think we should be embracing AI in our lives?
Well, I'm a massive proponent for it. I think this is the fifth industrial revolution. I think just like we might have looked and people might have been fearful of electricity and people might have even been fearful of computers. And I can remember people taking the rip out of me for using Google as a search engine and not going to the library. All these things start to help us become more productive and actually make life better. So I honestly believe that AI has a massive potential for everybody, not just from a consumer point of view, much more in the future of work and actually working. If we can become more productive using AI, which we all can, then that's a good thing, because that means we can start enjoying our lives a bit more and maybe not working so hard.
Brilliant.
I'm all for that.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Brilliant analysis. Thank you, Dan. Lovely to talk to you. That's Dan Sodergren, AI and tech expert. The phone lines are open: 03 700 101.